Breaking news regarding the case of Michael Flynn. NBC News justice correspondent Pete Williams is here. Pete, we were just talking to a congresswoman. I think that this is a surprise for a lot of people, given that he pled guilty. Tell us what's happening here.
Well, by a 2-to-1 vote, a 3-judge panel of the D.C. Court of Appeals has granted the motion from Flynn's lawyers to direct the district court judge, Emmett Sullivan, to dismiss the case. Now, you may remember that it is true that 2 years ago, Flynn pleaded guilty twice, but his sentencing had been delayed. He was supposed to be cooperating with the government in a criminal case in Virginia against his former business partner. That cooperation agreement fell apart, and ultimately Flynn moved to withdraw his guilty plea. Then, in a surprise move, the government said it wanted to simply abandon the prosecution after a federal prosecutor appointed by Attorney General William Barr to look into the case determined that there were some improper steps taken, and this has been a familiar litany of complaints from Flynn's lawyers about the FBI's conduct here. But in any event, what Judge Sullivan did was to say, okay, look, I've got this request from the government. They want me to drop the case. I'm going to appoint a retired federal prosecutor to come in here and argue the opposite about whether this would be in the public interest. And he appointed this person to act as a friend of the court. So Flynn's lawyers then went to the D.C. Court of Appeals and said, we want you to order the judge that he can't appoint a friend of the court, and we want you to order the judge that he has to drop the case. He has no choice. And today, by a 2-to-1 vote, the appeals court said, that's right, the judge has no choice. What the court basically says here is the decision to prosecute or not to prosecute is exclusively one of the executive branch, not judges. That's entirely in the hands of the Justice Department. And therefore, he exceeded his authority in wanting to keep the case going. So it is a complete victory for Flynn. All that's left here is, in essence, returning it to the lower court to perform last rites. Flynn will be a free man here. He's been, no sentence had ever been imposed. So for that reason, he was technically never convicted. So I can't say that his conviction will be erased because as a technical matter, even though he pleaded guilty, there was never that final step that amounts to a conviction. So there'll be no felony record for him. There'll be no need for a presidential pardon. In just a matter of days, he will be completely free and clear of these charges. And it's a complete smackdown of what the judge wanted to do here, Chris.
Just want to double check. Completely free and clear, for example, could a Democratic administration then bring charges?
Well, remember that, yes, I mean, the simple answer to the question is yes to a second potential violation that Flynn, in essence, admitted to in his plea agreement, although he was never charged with it, and that is whether he was candid about his relationship with the government of Turkey in doing some lobbying. Now, remember, what he pleaded guilty to was lying to the FBI right after the President Trump took office, when he was national security advisor, about conversations he had with Russia's ambassador to the U.S. during the transition. He denied that they talked about sanctions. He denied that they talked about Russia going easy in terms of responding to the Obama administration's throwing out some alleged Russian spies. And a potential vote coming up in the UN involving some issues in the Middle East. He denied talking about those things and later admitted that in fact, he did talk about them. But his lawyers have maintained that he was sort of tricked into this by the FBI. And what this investigator and what Attorney General Barr concluded and the Justice Department ultimately concluded here in wanting to drop the charges is that what he lied about wasn't, quote unquote, material to any investigation and therefore did not amount to a violation of the specific law he was charged with violating.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.